Withered grass, tangled and wild, lay flat across a lonely grave. Chen Shwen sat slumped against the mound. His clothes hung in tatters, rags more than robes, mud and tear, streaks caked his face. His fist slammed into the earth. "Master, you've been dead 10 years. Do you have any idea how I survived those 10 years? A mountain gust rattled the dead weeds. He clawed at the soil, knuckles bone, white. "Back then, I swallowed your sweet promises. I knelt, I kowtowed, I took you as my master. You said I was a one-sin, a millennium prodigy, that once the dust was wiped away, my light would blind the world. And what did I get? I hauled your corpse across half a year just to reach this godforsaken peak, and the moment we hit the Sect gate, you shut your eyes and died." His voice broke against the ruined islands. Nothing answered. Beyond him, shattered halls and broken walls stood mute. The gate of Pyomi, Sect, dangled crooked, its stone pillars smothered in moss. 10 years ago, he had been in another world, factories, assembly lines, the same three-point cage, an orphan with no name, no pull, no path. His whole plan was to scrape together enough cash to rent a stall near the factory gate and sell breakfast. That night, the power cut, he went to flip the breaker. White light crushed through his skull, and when he opened his eyes, he was kneeling in the wilderness of this primordial continent. He saw a demon beast. His jaws blot out the sky and swallow a city's living souls. He saw a streak of sword-light shear down from beyond the heavens and split that mountain-sized monster in two. Thousands of cultivators swept through the air, robes billowing like storm clouds. He was supposed to be the chosen one. A dragon among men, crushing all who dared oppose. Empresses and princesses lining up to worship, pure, rotting fantasy. Reality was lone sharks bleeding him dry for cultivation manuals while he couldn't pull in a single wisp of spiritual energy. Reality was fleeing through the dark, hunted, sleeping in wild graves, eating raw fruit. Reality was trekking mountains and rivers to every recruitment gathering, every sect glancing at him and shaking their heads, those gazes cold as they'd stare at a chunk of dead wood. On the edge of death, he finally met the one buried here, his master, ethereal, sage, like words dripping honey. "Young man, I see bright eyes, white teeth, a face like jade, a bearing like a graceful tree swaying in the wind, dashing, unrestrained heaven, bestowed talent, kowtow. Take me as your master. The dust shall be wiped clean, and your light will blaze across all mountains and rivers." Chen Shwen knelt. He thought fate had turned. He never guessed it was the mouth of another abyss. That one kneel cost 10 years, 10 years trapped in the Elwangu Mountains, beasts prowling every side, nowhere to run. He practiced the method his master left behind, day after day, sensing nothing, no spiritual energy. His body only grew heavier, until this morning. He sat cross-legged in the ruined hall, meditating like dead wood, when a hair-thin glimmer flickered deep in his dantian. Spiritual energy, he perceived it. Kai refining, first layer. Chen Shwen's eyes flew open. He scrambled, crawled to the grave, and wept again. 10 years for the first layer of Kai refining. Even a dog would spit on this talent. He scrubbed his face. "You lied to me. This broken sect died out ages ago. I'm the only one left." His stomach snarled, the crying cut off. He wiped his tears with a resentful fist, pushed himself upright, and decided to find wild tubers to fill his gut before cursing further. The moment his knees left the ground. Boom, a detonation deep in his mind, like a great bell. An intangible force surged up from the root of his soul. Every hair on his body stood rigid. The weeds before the grave flattened, shattered leaves, lifting off the dirt and freezing in midair. The atmosphere thickened to stone. Chen Shwen's breath snagged. His 5 senses tore open, amplified by an indescribable power. He could hear the thunder of his own blood, see each suspended dust mote shuddering in the sun. A voice ground through his soul, mechanical, ethereal, and absolutely clear. "Ding 15, year energy charge complete. Congratulations, host, on successfully binding the strongest sect system of all realms." Chen Shwen's whole body locked. Tears still streaked his mud-caked face. His lips twitched, pupils contracting to pinpricks. System, the words squeezed from his throat, loaded with 15 years of grievance and a mad, explosive ecstasy. He straightened, voice nearly cracking. "You have a system. You had one this whole time." Ding, this system existed before the host's transmigration. An accident during the crossing delayed the energy charge. Apologies for making the host wait so long. He was shaking 15 years, sleeping in the open, eating wind and dew, hunted, stared at with ice. Crawling back to this broken peak, weeping alone at a grave for a decade. His fists clenched until his nails stabbed his palms. He felt nothing. Compensation. The system's voice returned. "Host, this system will provide compensation." His heart jolted. His own ragged breath filled his ears. The wind had stopped. The leaves still hung suspended. The whole graveyard held its breath. What compensation? He heard his own voice tremble. Compensation for the host, one great emperor cultivation base. Is that acceptable? Chen Shwen couldn't believe it. His blood seemed to freeze solid for an instant. Before he could speak, the system's voice continued, a faint, almost fawning tone bleeding through. Plus one extreme Dao weapon, Supreme Sovereign Sword. Is that acceptable? This is the maximum compensation this system can provide, tilde tilde. The moment the words fell, Chen Shwen broke 15 years in exchange for a great emperor's cultivation. Plus an extreme Dao weapon, worth it, too worth it, he nodded at once. Acceptable, completely acceptable, quick, claim the compensation. A thought burned through his mind, great emperor, the pinnacle of this primordial continent. A single drop of blood could slay gods and demons. A single strand of hair could suppress the eternal firmament, and an extreme Dao weapon, a peerless killing tool that many great emperors spent their whole lives failing to touch. Great emperor cultivation integrating, host prepare to receive. The system's prompt dropped. A majestic force vast enough to shred the stars flooded into Chen Shwen's body. Boom, boom, boom. The instant it poured in, his whole frame shuddered violently. Not a gentle stream's nourishment, molten lava surging, the celestial river reversing its flow. Every wisp of true Kai was a red, hot brand, blasting open every meridian barrier across his body. Kai refining realm in a single moment, 9 layers traversed. Foundation establishment, yet that was a single drop. Foundation establishment, 9 layers, passed within a breath. Spirit Sea convergence, Spirit Sea 9 layers, void traversal, soul condensation, heavenly king, imperial zenith. Quays, I saint, saint Quays, I emperor, boom. A chain of muffled detonations erupted inside him. 66 trillion cells transformed all at once, releasing a dense rain like crackle of bone explosions, cascading from viscera to limbs, from organs to every inch of flesh. 206 bones vibrated madly, each one throwing off the shackles of heaven and earth's laws, emitting relentless booms that defied reason. Bone surfaces shimmered with flowing, cold divine patterns of the Tao, old shackles shattered, new order reassembled. The surrounding void warped under this pure evolutionary force. The air silently split into pitch-black fissures, countless Tao patterns spiraled and lashed into his blood and flesh. After an immeasurable stretch, the bone explosions ceased. The cells fell silent. Chen Shwen had completed his ultimate evolution. Every inch of flesh glowed with warm, lustrous Tao rhythms. Even a single strand of hair was heavy enough to collapse a mountain. He slowly opened his eyes. A drop of essence blood suppresses myriad gods and demons. A single strand of hair presses down the eternal firmament. Chen Shwen exhaled. System just now, if you hadn't helped suppress my aura, this 10,000-mile radius would have shattered. Then he spoke again. Claim the Supreme Sovereign Sword. Ding, Supreme Sovereign Sword has been issued. Please check your inventory. The void before him shuddered. A dark, gold rift tore itself open from nothing, and from within, an ancient longsword slowly emerged. The blade's surface was placid as a forgotten well, yet etched into it were the words Supreme Sovereign Sword. The edge lay still, but the air wept a keening wail beneath its unseen sharpness. Chen Shwen raised his hand and gripped the hilt. Boom! A blazing resonance like an electric arc erupted between palm and grip. The Supreme Sovereign Sword's aura fully awakened. Across the blade, dormant archaic glyphs surged with a current of dark, heavy gold, pulsing like living veins in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. A pressure of absolute sovereign might flooded up his arm and into his core. Chen Shwen felt he could shatter an entire province with a casual swing. His fingers itched, he could not endure it. His figure flickered and vanished, shooting straight into the heavens. The next moment, the starry void. Chen Shwen hung suspended in the silence of the dead galactic sea. He fixed his gaze on a desolate planet in the distance. He drew the sword and slashed downward. There was no sound. The planet froze for a breath, then collapsed violently inward. It detonated without noise, blooming into a blinding ring of luminous dust. Fragments of its shattered core ripped outward in all directions, painting the darkness with countless streaks of annihilating light. The lingering ripple of absolute sword intent swept across the stellar region. Neighboring stars wobbled in their orbits, trembling faintly. Back on the desolate ancient continent. In the deepest sanctuaries of the Holy Lands, ancient monsters in death, seclusion snapped open their eyes. Ancient voices tore through the silence, sharp, urgent, a sovereign weapon's aura. A star exploded. Someone blasted a star apart. It's a great emperor's no, and a supreme path sovereign weapon. Send word at once. Multiply disciples, cultivation, resources tenfold. Open all hidden realms. 8th brother, 9th brother, follow me to the starry void to pay respects to the great emperor. Amidst the stars, Chen Shwen watched the obliterated star form a ring of light, dust and slowly exhaled. A great emperor wielding a sovereign path weapon could pluck stars and behead the moon with a lift of the hand. 15 years of toil, not a day wasted. A crystalline chime rang in his mind. *10. Star talent detected. Host, please proceed to accept a disciple. Chen Shwen snapped back to the present. His tone turned airy. System, does accepting disciples come with rewards? If they're non-existent or paltry, forgive me for not bothering. I already possess great emperor cultivation and a sovereign weapon. I've no need for scraps. The system went silent for a beat. Then its voice came through, stiff, not difficult, very simple. Go on. Chen Shwen sheathed the sword, supreme sovereign sword, transformed into a stream of light and dove into his spirit sea, basking in spiritual Kai nourishment. This system is called the Myriad Realms Supreme Sect System. The host must develop his sect into the strongest across all realms. To achieve this, he must recruit disciples. Rewards are as follows. Disciples with potential above 10 stars, reward an absurdly lavish disciple. Acceptance gift pack, guaranteed 1 immortal summon card, additional random items. 10-star disciples, reward a luxury disciple. Acceptance gift pack, guaranteed 2 sovereign summon cards, 2 sage summon cards, additional random items. 9-star disciples, reward a deluxe disciple. Acceptance gift pack, guaranteed 2 sage summon cards, additional random items. Below 9 stars down to 6 stars, reward a standard disciple. Acceptance gift pack, contains 1 heavenly king summon card. All experts summoned by these cards hold absolute, unshakable loyalty to the host. Every 10 cards of the same grade can be synthesized once into a higher grade card. Great Emperor cards and Saint cards may only be synthesized once. Heavenly King cards may be synthesized twice. Cultivation realms, Kai refining, foundation establishment, spirit sea, void flight, spirit condensation, heavenly king, imperial, saint, great emperor, immortal. Chen Shwen finished reading, summon cards with unwavering loyalty and synthesizable. The recruitment standards weren't low, but the desolate ancient continent was vast. 10 star talents weren't rare. Fine, I accept this task. Great host, Eye of detection, and basic sect construction have been issued. Please accept a disciple without delay. Chen Shwen gave a nod. His figure flickered and vanished from the spot. Desolate ancient continent, Dongyu, Huangzhou. Atop a cliff that plunged 10,000 zhang gale winds carved like blades, churning the leaden clouds above. At the edge of the abyss, several disciples of the Shenjian sect were closing in on a youth drenched in blood. One of them grinned, a greedy light in his eyes. Lin Fan, hand over your head. Senior brother Wang promised us entry to the Divine Arts Pavilion's second layer. Another voice colder, layered with old hatred. The debt of my little brother's death, it will be settled slowly. A third snarled, stop wasting time, kill him. Lin Fan stood with his back to the chasm, blood dripping from his arm and splattering onto the broken rocks, a horrifying sight. He glared at those former fellow sect members, his eyes brimming with icy despair. Wang Qiang bullied his own sect mates, stole my resources. I merely fought back to survive, and the sect expels me, orders my death. Where is the justice of heaven? He raised his head in a bleak, bitter howl, voice raw. If I live through this day, I swear I will kill Wang Qiang. I swear I will slaughter you dogs. The words fell. He no longer hesitated and turned, ready to throw himself into the abyss. A figure materialized before him without the slightest warning. Wait a moment. Don't jump just yet. Lin Fan forced himself to halt, staring in shock and suspicion. The man's face was full of smiles. I am the 108th generation sect master of the Pyomi sect. Do you perchance wish to bow and take me as your master, embarking on a path of renown to rescue all living beings? Silence crushed the cliffside. One Shenjian sect disciple barked coldly. Insolence, a third. Rate sect dares shelter the traitor of our Shenjian sect. You want to die. The words never finished. Chen Shwen, without even turning his head, raised his right hand, his 5 fingers stretched open. The air in the immediate space collapsed with a violent implosion, sucked into a suffocating vacuum. A transparent palm print, solid as glass, silently imprinted itself onto the disciple's chest. The man didn't even have time to blink before his body dissolved into a mist of powdered blood. The thick, metallic reek burst outward, borne into every nostril on the cliff wind. Lin Fan's pupils constricted violently. One move, Spirit Sea 5th stage, annihilated into ash. He spoke in desperate haste. Senior, the Shenjian sect is the overlord of Huangzhou. You've killed their man. Their elders will come in person. Flee now. Right, not even a void flight cultivator can escape the Shenjian sect's pursuit, another yelled. Surrender and return to the sect for judgment with us, a third demanded. Chen Shwen's expression remained utterly serene, as if idly observing an ant and a mayfly, a mere Shenjian sect. I can extinguish it with one hand. His gaze settled back on Lin Fan. You need only answer, will you take me as your master? If you do, I'll vent your grievances. If not, I leave this instant. Lin Fan's throat bobbed. He clenched his teeth fiercely. I agree. Good. Chen Shwen turned to face the remaining disciples, whose faces had drained stark white. They shuddered all over, roaring with false bravado, all together. Technique light flared, the intent to kill surging forward. Chen Shwen gently pressed his thumb and middle finger together. Asterisk snap asterisk. The crisp, delicate sound of a finger snap pierced the din. At the point of friction, several faint fissures of void flickered and vanished. An invisible ripple spread outward. The bodies of the remaining disciples abruptly stiffened, their eyes bulged. The spirit seas within their bodies detonated simultaneously, spiritual power erupting violently from within. Asterisk boom, 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 asterisk. Flesh and blood became crimson fireworks that bloomed in sequence at the cliff's edge. Severed limbs rained down into the bottomless abyss, not a single scream able to escape. Lin Fan's ears rang. He could hear nothing but the drumbeat of his own heart and the howling cliff wind. His knees gave way, crashing heavily onto the jagged stones and kicking up a cloud of dust. At that moment, a faint voice drifted. Disciple, why have you not yet knelt and kowtowed to your master? Lin Fan shuddered, jolting from his blood-soaked daze. He thudded to his knees. Disciple Lin Fan pays respects to master. 3 resounding kowtows slammed onto the ground. In Chen Shwen's mind, a crystalline system tone exploded asterisk ding. Congratulations, host, for recruiting a 10-star potential disciple. The luxurious disciple recruitment gift pack has arrived, asterisk. He had no time to examine it. Delight tinged his brows. He raised a hand in an illusory gesture, and an intangible force lifted Lin Fan to his feet. Good disciple, follow your master back to the sect. Chen Shwen's body soared into the air, clouds cleaving apart on either side. Pyomi, our sect's main peak, Lin Fan landed on his feet and looked around, only desolate mountains and ruined huts, weeds choking the steps. Master, this is the sect. His voice was hesitant. Chen Shwen was briefly taken aback, then flicked his sleeve with a faint smile, merely an illusion. Wait until your master dispels this shell, so you may see its true face. In his heart, he coldly commanded, System, use the sect construction card. Asterisk ding, sect construction card activated successfully, sect facilities manifesting, asterisk. Chen Shwen casually waved his hand forward. Asterisk asterisk boom, asterisk asterisk. The earth trembled, crumbling peaks disintegrated. Ridge upon ridge of steep mountains surged from the dust and smoke, their bluestone cliffs hewn to perfection, towering and oppressively majestic. Sweeping eaves and bracket sets pierced the mists, pavilions and halls layered along the mountain contours, wind chimes beneath the eaves, ringing without wind. Ruins transformed into a new heaven in a single breath. The super spirit, gathering array spun, silent and unseen, spiritual kai from heaven and earth surged in like scalding water, so dense it nearly misted over. Lin Fan's body locked up, every inch of skin gulping it down as if gripped by an invisible hand, tiny bone, deep old wounds mended at a speed the eye could track. His pupils snapped tight. This kai density was 100 times no, 1,000 times what he'd known in Shenjian sect. One day's cultivation here matched over half a year outside. Chen Shwen never slowed his stride. His consciousness had already plunged into the system. He thought, open the luxurious disciple recruitment gift pack. A cheerful chime announced the system's voice. Luxurious disciple gift pack opened successfully. Congratulations, host, for obtaining sovereign summon card ×2. Guaranteed reward. Congratulations, host, for obtaining sage summon card ×2. Guaranteed reward. Congratulations, host, for obtaining sect facility true understanding of the Tao of the sword. Chen Shwen rolled his fingertip. An ancient sword intent solidified in his palm, pulsing like something alive. He turned, eyes settling on Lin Fan. Lin Fan! The wisp of ancient sword intent shot from his hand and crashed into Lin Fan's chest. A sharp hiss filled the air. Fine sword kai blasted from every pore, carving spiderweb cracks into the stone floor. Lin Fan's back arched hard. A metallic clashing vibrated deep in his bones, like 100 rusted swords smelting and reforging inside his meridians. Agony and sword, sharp clarity struck his crown at the same moment. An explosion boom of invisible sword pressure erupted from his body, hurling gravel in all directions. Chen Shwen's hair stirred without wind, his arm rose, slow and deliberate. He spoke each word into the void. "Sword, come." His voice rolled across the mountains like deep thunder. Clang, clang, clang. In the dense forests, at the bottoms of muddy pools, beneath rock piles, broken swords and rusted blades that had lain silent for unknown years trembled together. Earth bulged. Water surfaces shattered. Hundreds of cold gleams burst through, dragging afterimages as they shot toward the main hall. The sky dimmed for an instant. Wind froze, clouds locked still, the broken swords pierced into the hall, encircling master and disciple, tips hung low. Their ringing merged into an ancient, murderous hum. The hole became the heart of a sword graveyard. Every breath of air could slit a throat. Chen Shwen's tone stayed flat. Scram! The 100 swords shuddered as one. They fled back to their resting places in the blink of an eye, leaving the hole empty. Lin Fan's knees smashed into the ground. His forehead knocked heavily against cold stone. Master also possesses the ancient sword body. His voice broke. Disciple thanks Master for the grace of recreation. To remake flesh and remold bone that kindness weighed like mountains, Chen Shwen helped him up. You are the eldest senior brother of this generation of our sect. Cultivate well, uphold our sect's might. Your master shall bestow upon you another item. A weight settled in Lin Fan's hands, an ancient scripture, its cover glowing faintly, the two characters immortal scripture, coiling like dragons and snakes. The asterisk primordial heaven, devastating scripture asterisk, cultivate it to the extreme, and you can reverse yin and yang, traverse time with the sword, prove the emperor with the sword. Lin Fan's heart hammered so hard his breath stopped. An immortal scripture, something sacred lands would flood rivers of blood to seize. And his master had handed it over casual as anything, not even a day after joining. He pinched his thigh. Sharp pain, not a dream. Thank you, master. The words shook. Cultivate. The entry barrier is the most perilous. Your master will guide you now. Lin Fan opened the scripture, held his breath, and read. In a few breaths, he'd memorized every incantation, but several passages were murky, incomprehensible. He looked up to ask. Chen Shwen's frown cut through. His eyes slanted toward a spot in the void, the depths of his pupils faintly mirroring a void mirror. Impudence? 2 words spit out like ice. In that instant, a strand of his divine sense bored through space like a freezing awl and struck back along the prying gaze. The air in the hall turned dead cold. Lin Fan froze. Master. Chen Shwen's gaze returned calm again. Nothing. Just taught a lesson to someone who doesn't know the height of heaven and the depth of earth. Lin Fan's confusion knotted deep, but he didn't dare press. He steadied his mind and began consulting Chen Shwen on the difficult points. Time rewound slightly. Shenjian Sect, main hall. Elders stood with hands lowered. On the main seat, Sect Master Yu Shan's face was dark as still water. Has it been investigated clearly? His gaze swept to the law enforcement hall elder. The elder clasped his fists and spoke slowly. Sect Master, all 6 inner disciple soul tokens are shattered. The death scene. Left no traces. Not even residual aura. Yu Shan's knuckles tapped the armrest. Not a shred, as if they evaporated into thin air at the cliff's edge. The scripture pavilion elder Wang Ben couldn't hold back, his voice a rasp. What if Lin Fan found helpers? They killed our disciples and then rescued him. Lin Fan's body hasn't been found either. Yu Shan said nothing, his eyes growing more poisonous. Wang Ben's chest burned. His son, born in his old age, Wang Qiang, had been nearly crippled by Lin Fan. If he didn't capture Lin Fan and hack him apart, this fury would eat him alive. The law enforcement hall elder shook his head. Not likely. Lin Fan's background is clean. No worldly support. No expert above the sky-soaring realm would step forward for him. Killing 6 inner disciples simultaneously without a trace. Absolutely not something the sky-soaring realm can do. At least a spirit condensation realm expert would be needed. A hunted inner disciple like Lin Fan couldn't have drawn a condensation realm expert. In my view, it must be other forces targeting us. The void mirror hung in the air. Yu Shan raised a hand, spiritual energy threading like silk from his fingertips into its fractured, crack-riddled surface. A deep hum vibrated. Within the mirror, heaven spun and churned. A vast, desolate aura radiated outward. The air thickened, sticky. Cups and dishes on the table trembled. Ripples shivered across water surfaces. The last wisp of aura clinging to the shattered life, Jade was wrenched free by an invisible power, drawn out like fine smoke, and sucked into the mirror's vortex. Every candle in the hall dimmed. No one dared breathe. The mirror's vision crystallized, a cliff, a sea of clouds, the exact site they suspected. Yu Shan pulled a deep breath and surged more spiritual energy into the artifact. The humming sharpened to a shriek. Inside the mirror, creation roiled again, primordial chaos boiling, but before the scene could coalesce, a pair of eyes opened deep in the vortex. Deep, unfathomable. Cold beyond measure, that gaze pierced through the mirror's frame from across a billion voids, pinning every onlooker's divine sense like two incorporeal swords. Yu Shan's pupils shrank to pinpricks. Instinct howled, sever the spiritual energy. Too late. Impudent. The voice exploded from the mirror, 2 words like 9. Bolt thunder tearing reality. Yu Shan's chest caved as if struck by a battering ram. His spiritual energy locked solid, then reversed, flooding back into his dantian. He skidded across the floor, back slamming into a stone pillar. Blood misted from his lips, spattering the mirror's surface. The void mirror convulsed. Cracks shot out like a spider's web, spreading with crazed speed. A final wisp of imperial might seeped through the fractures, sparking with shattering light. A mournful hum, then the entire artifact burst apart, shards igniting midair, burning to scorched embers of starfire, annihilating to nothing. Only the acrid char stink lingered. Dust drifted down, silence swallowed the hall. Others hoisted Yu Shan up, forcing a healing elixir between his lips. His eyes stayed fixed on the space where the void mirror had hung, lingering terror pooled in his pupils. Those eyes reached across the void, saw us through the mirror. His voice scraped raw. He pressed a hand over his churning blood and Kai. A warning! If killing intent had been behind that gaze, a single glance would have wiped us all out through the mirror's link. Cold sweat soaked the backs of every elder. No one exhaled too loud. Imperial zenith, or even a half, Saint, someone finally croaked, throat trembling. Don't guess, don't speak of it again. Yu Shan's hand cut the air, knuckles still juddering. The disciple's death ends here. Those eyes belong to someone Shenjian Sect cannot afford to offend. Pursue this any further, and destruction is guaranteed. Silence swallowed the whole. A long stillness stretched before he slowly breathed out a turbid sigh, voice dropping, revoke the kill order. Switch to stealth capture, alive. Do not give offense during the capture. If he truly cannot be caught, then let it go. He closed his eyes in exhausted resignation. Inside Peomio Sect, the Tao's rhythm hung like spun silk, heavenly laws so close they shimmered against the skin. Lin Fan's every pore sprang open at once, spiritual Kai, thick enough to touch, slammed into him. He didn't dare hesitate. Choking down the riot in his chest, he slipped into his dwelling and sealed himself in closed cultivation. Chen Shwen stood on the summit, watching the immortal ley lines weave through the mountain roots. The corner of his mouth twitched upward. Summoning cards, an emperor card could weave a celestial immortal. A saint card would forge a great emperor. A true immortal. How many eons since divinity last breathed in this realm, if the sect could seat a single immortal ringed by great emperor elders? Saints serving as outer disciples, a single sweep of the sleeve, and immortals, emperors, saints would all kneel. Now that was prestige. He bared his teeth in a grin, but the smirk died before it bloomed. A clear chime echoed through his mind, the system's voice cool and precise. Detected 3 days hence, Shenjian City will host a disciple, recruitment grand convention. A 10-star potential prodigy will appear. Host is requested to attend and recruit this disciple. Chen Shwen's brow furrowed. The Shenjian sect is recruiting disciples, and I'm supposed to poach from them. Host overthinks. The recruitment convention is in Shenjian City. Plenty of sects come to pick through the rejects. It's entirely legitimate for host to attend under the guise of scavenging talent. Rejects discarded disciples, Chen Shwen's eye twitched. A grand, majestic great emperor sect master, scraping for scraps on an overlord's doorstep. But 10-star potential, the collector's thrill crushed his pride. Fine, 3 days, I'll make the trip. He turned and strode into the sect master's grand hall, robes swirling with undissipated Tao rhythm. 3 days later, main peak, Lin Fan's eyes snapped open. His robes billowed though no wind stirred, and the air throbbed with a deep, resonant hum. Spirit sea peak pressure burst outward, shelves rattled, incense holders clattered. He exhaled, breath carving a blade. 3 days, 5 minor realms. Celestial, grade cultivation method, combined with the sect's transformed environment. The result was nearly absurd. He stepped outside, strode into the grand hall, and cupped his fists. Master, your disciple has reached the spirit sea peak. When do we depart? Chen Shwen's gaze settled on him, and he nodded slightly. Spirit sea peak, not bad, but compared to your master, still a billionth too slow. Back then, from spirit sea first, layer to 9th, I only needed 1 breath. As the words fell, an extremely faint ripple of golden light flickered deep within his eyes before vanishing. Lin Fan stared, dumbstruck, and swallowed his retort. Your disciple is dull. witted, I dare not compare myself to master, as long as you know. Let's go. Chen Shwen's form shot skyward. Lin Fan adjusted his bronze eye patch and followed. The two tore through the clouds, leaving long white scars aimed straight at Shenzhen City. The crowd outside Shenzhen City churned like a living sea. A gate guarding disciple raised a hand, blocking the pair. What's your business in the city, recruiting disciples? The disciple, expressionless, rubbed his fingers together. Chen Shwen spoke flatly. How much? 300 spirit stones. That cheap, Chen Shwen tilted his head. Disciple, pay him. Without a blink, Lin Fan produced 300 spirit stones. Mist, like spiritual energy, coiled off the stones the instant they changed hands. A flash of greed crossed the god's face before he suppressed it and stepped aside. After entering the city, if you recruit, no force. All recruitment is voluntary. Those who coerce bear the consequences. Master and disciple ignored him and walked straight in. The city's clamor hit them head, on hawking cries, haggling, the jumbled chatter of young men and women, all woven into a simmering roar. Young faces, some arrogant, some anxious, every single one burning with fervent hope toward Shenzhen Sect. And deep in the alleys, sharp eyes tracked like hawks. Old men and middle-aged cultivators threaded through the crowd, sidling up to any lone youth, pitching sect names in hushed tones. Poaching, scavenging. The whole theater of disciple recruitment played out silently amid the bustling splendor. The street went quiet, not the kind of hush that kills noise. It was the sudden draining of every stray thought and breath, pulled out all at once. Ye Qingcheng appeared at the far end of Long Street. Her fitted muslin dress rippled softly with her stride. Each step seemed to land on the ripples of time itself. The light dimmed around her for an instant as countless gazes tore toward her, then fell away, shamed by the cold purity of her presence. Chen Shwen's gaze cut through the crowd. Golden script flared before his eyes. Ye Qingcheng, reborn Quays, I Emperor, reincarnation, immortal physique, spirit undying, tense, star potential. A faint smile touched his lips. He tilted his head toward Lin Fan. Disciple, you've just gained a junior sister. Lin Fan froze, still forming a reply, when a figure sliced in from the side and blocked the girl's path. The man wore the robes of a Shenzhen Sect inner disciple, his stare crawling over Ye Qingcheng like dripping sludge. Greed and lust thickened almost to a visible stain, fouling the air itself. Lin Fan halted mid-step. He knew that face, a sharp crack, his knuckles popped under his sleeve. His single eye contracted to a pinprick, killing intent stabbed through him like ice needles. This man, Wang Qiang, son of the Technique Pavilion elder, had framed him, put the sect on his trail, driven him to death's edge 9 times. Master, it's him. Chen Shwen laid a light hand on Lin Fan's shoulder, his voice off-handed. Kill him later and work out your frustrations. I'll back you. Lin Fan's breath hitched, but this city is Shenzhen Sect's vassal. It's nothing. Chen Shwen's tone stayed calm and unhurried, but it set Lin Fan's sea of consciousness buzzing. Piyomi, O Sect fears no power. Even if the great emperor himself descended, you'd have nothing to fear. The sect stands behind you in all things. A rush of heat flooded Lin Fan's skull, shattering the dread in his chest. He gave a heavy nod. Out in the street, Wang Qiang still laughed as he blocked Ye Qingcheng's way. His words came slathered in vile expectation. Young miss, I am Wang Qiang, inner disciple of Shenzhen Sect. My father is the elder of the Technique Pavilion. As long as you're willing, joining the sect and entering the inner circle is just a word away. Ye Qingcheng furrowed her brow as though pushing through a coil of nauseating miasma. She shook her head, calm and final. No need, her heart had already flown elsewhere. Shenzhen Sect no longer held Lin Fan. Her entire journey was for finding him alone. Wang Qiang's smile fractured, patience shattering like cheap pottery. His voice sank into a dark, threatening drone. If you don't want to join Shenzhen Sect, what are you doing here? Think you can just come and go as you please? Ye Qingcheng felt no anger, only a wisp of bitter bemusement. She should have lived 10,000 years in the future. In that life, her talent shook the age, and she rose like a comet ordained by fate, until a young woman named Leng Shi appeared. In her first life, she disposed of a few stumbling blocks over petty grievances. Leng Shi, once her cultivation matured, hunted her down and erased her with a single palm-strike vengeance for her family. In her second life, she deliberately befriended Leng Shi's kin, but fate threw an obsessed suitor at her. And Leng Shi killed her again to seize the man. In her third life, she kept clear of both sides, only to meet her end in some nameless corner. The fourth life, the fifth, the sixth reincarnation coiled around her like a waking nightmare. No matter how she evaded, no matter how she struck first, Leng Shi always escaped death's jaws and returned with greater cultivation, casting her into a frozen grave time and time again. Until her 9th life. She drowned every last drop of wishful thinking, sealed herself in death's seclusion, and clawed her way to the quasi-emperor realm before stepping back into the mortal world. Back then, Leng Shi hadn't even brushed that height. Ye Qingcheng believed she finally held the blade that would cut the shackles of fate. She was wrong. That day, the sky shattered, an emperor's palm print blotted out the heavens. Laws collapsed into nothing, space crumbled inch by inch, and her quasi-emperor cultivation folded like a sheet of wet paper. A cold that bit past flesh and into the marrow of her bones seized her whole. Death had loomed over her before, more than once, but this was a different breed of despair, a force she could never hope to resist. Before the end, she heard Leng Shi's voice, deferential, practiced, sweet as poison. She called the young man who'd struck that blow's senior brother, and behind them both a name. Their shared master was called Lin Fan. 9 cycles of reincarnation crashed against that single truth. The sliver of hope she'd chased through every lifetime had been tethered to that man from the very start. Reborn 10,000 years early, she stopped hesitating. She would find Lin Fan, become his disciple, and sink her grip into the one lifeline that could unravel her fate. The memories drained away, tide pulling back from shore. Ye Qingcheng drew a long breath, ignored Wang Qiang's twisted snarl, and turned to leave. A cold gleam flickered through her eyes. The aura of Spirit Sea 6th layer rippled off her frame like heat haze. I said, I'm not joining. Her voice stayed low, but every word drove in like a hammered nail. Wang Qiang's face blackened. The muscle at the corner of his eye jumped in a violent spasm. A savage grin split his lips, and his hand slashed down through the air. You don't know what's good for you. Today, you're joining whether you like it or not. The whistle of torn air shrieked. Several Shenjian Sect disciples burst from the crowd, ringing Ye Qingcheng in a tight circle. A net of killing intent, razor, keen, stretched across the street. Stop. The cold shout cut through the tension like a blade. The crowd split apart. Chen Shwen strolled forward, hands clasped behind his back, Lin Fan close behind him. The bronze eye patch betrayed nothing. Wang Qiang tracked the voice, and his gaze slammed into Lin Fan, his pupils contracted to pinpricks. Lin Fan. The name ripped out of him on reflex, and mockery flooded in right behind it, savage and gleeful. I'd know your ashes in a fire. You've got the guts to stick your head up in Shenzhen City. Again, guess, that last punch didn't teach you much. His voice climbed to a howl. Brothers, ring them in. Not a single one walks away. The Shenzhen Sect disciples surged, dragging Chen Shwen and Lin Fan into the trap. At the sound of Lin Fan, Ye Qingcheng's body jolted like a thunderclap had detonated inside her skull. Her gaze locked onto the face behind the bronze mask, and the memories of 9 reincarnations roared through her in a flood. Leng Shi's master, the man whose name would bend the heat. Avens and Earth 10,000 years from now. Her breath came fast and shallow. A single thought howled through every channel of her mind. Cling to this lifeline. Cling to it. In dead silence, Ye Qingcheng marshaled every hidden method she possessed, coiled tight, waiting only for the instant Lin Fan moved. She would burst forward and stake her allegiance in blood. But in that moment, the scene warped. The Shenzhen Sect disciples, bristling with murderous intent a heartbeat ago, snapped rigid. Invisible iron spikes might as well have nailed them in place. My legs can't move. What's happening? The panicked cries were short, frayed. The bluestone beneath their boots shimmered with a faint ripple, as if the ground had woken. Currents of visible air climbed their combat boots like vines, and locked their ankles and calves in a silent vise. Every disciple except Wang Qiang stood frozen, pinned by that soundless force. Chen Shwen hadn't moved a muscle, his gaze merely swept across them, calm and remote. Lin Fan smiled. His master had already stripped away every one of his opponent's helpers. Lin Fan's eyes snapped onto Wang Qiang. His voice came like frost scraping stone. Wang Qiang, your life ends here. Before the words finished settling, he lifted a hand and pressed down with an empty palm. The ambient spiritual energy of heaven and earth howled inward, churning into a radiant spirit-light palm imprint spinning above his palm. The instant it coalesced, the air screamed. Light bent and warped at its edges, tearing the surrounding street into a blurred smear. The destructive force coiled inside hadn't yet erupted, but its pressure already spiderwebbed the bluestone into jagged shards. Wang Qiang's face wrenched into horror. Still, he ground his teeth and roared, playing ghost tricks. I'm at 5th, heaven of the spiritual sea. You think I'm scared of you, fierce tiger fist. He threw everything he had into it. A howling gale twisted around his fists, condensing into twin tiger head auras that surged upward with a savage bellow. Palm and fists met in the air. The ferocious, fierce tiger fist, the moment it touched the spirit-light palm imprint, dissolved like snow tossed into a furnace, crumpling to ash in silence. The massive palm never slowed. It bore down with the crushing weight of a mountain. The air current it dragged shaving strands from Wang Qiang's disheveled hair, numbing his scalp strip by strip. Impossible. Wang Qiang's pupils drowned in despair. He ignited his protective spiritual Kai in a frenzy, but the barrier shattered under the pressure before it could even take shape. The great palm descended. Bang! A muffled crunch of bone breaking into splinters burst outward. A spray of blood mist belched from the gaps between palm and stone. The blue stone cratered, a charred pit gouged deep. Shredded flesh and tattered robes pressed themselves into the cracks like a red and ragged seal. No way to tell which piece had been Wang Qiang. Lin Fan withdrew his hand, the palm print scattered into motes. He dropped his gaze to the shapeless mess in the pit and let out a breath he'd held for years. Who said I was at fourth heaven of the spiritual sea? His voice stayed soft. It carried into every ear on that street. I'm already at the ninth heaven. He turned, faced Chen Shwen, and clasped his fists until his knuckles blanched white. Master, your disciple's vengeance is done. Dead silence held for one beat, and then the street ruptured. Shrieks and wails and panicked sobs crashed together as the young men and women scattered like a tide snapping backward. Murder, a Shenjian sect disciple is dead. Run, run. The disciples who'd been pinned moments earlier found their limbs freed again. They'd lost the nerve to even look at Lin Fan. Ninth heaven of the spiritual sea. Burning through several stages in 3 days, and the silent man who'd locked them in place without a single word. Face bone, white, limbs quaking, they stumbled backward, crushed a jade communication talisman, and glared from a safe distance, petrified. The next body, smeared into stone, might be theirs. Chen Shwen paid them no attention. He gazed at Lin Fan, a flicker of gratification in his eyes, and gave a slight nod. Good, to strike when the moment demands it. That's the true heart of our Pio sect. He walked unhurried to stand before Ye Qingcheng and offered a thin smile. Young lady, I observe your bones are extraordinary, destined for greatness. I am the 108th generation sect master of Pio sect. Our lineage runs deep. Should you become my disciple, you will one day ascend as an empress. His words locked the street into another breath of silence. Then the pupils of everyone watching contracted hard. Killed Shenjian sect disciples, and now he's recruiting right here. Pio sect. Never heard of it. He's insane. He's asking to die. But Ye Qingcheng felt a thunderous slam in her chest. Lin Fan's master, the master of Pio sect. She didn't pause for a single sliver of hesitation. Her knees drove into the bluestone, and the impact split the slab. Disciple Ye Qingcheng pays respect to master. 3 kowtows rang out, stone chips flew. Elders from other sects shook their heads, sighing at the girl's ruined future. Chen Shwen ignored them. A cold system notification echoed through his divine sense. Ding, congratulations, host, for recruiting a 10-star potential disciple. The luxurious recruitment gift pack has arrived. His smile deepened. He helped Ye Qingcheng to her feet and gestured toward Lin Fan. Qingcheng, this is your eldest senior brother, Lin Fan. From this day, you are my second disciple. Qingcheng greets eldest senior brother. Please take care of me. Ye Qingcheng's heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. An elation she couldn't name surged up. She had done it. She was Lin Fan's junior sister. Lin Fan clasped fists in return. Junior sister, you're too kind. We'll advance together. Chen Shwen was just turning to lead them away when a roar, hauled on a gale, came crashing down onto Long Street. You kill a disciple of my Shenjian sect and think you can walk away. 2 figures dropped from the air. Their landing punched a web of cracks through the bricks in all directions. Wang Ben's eyes burned bloodshot. The moment his boots hit stone, he lunged like a man unhinged, grabbing a disciple by the collar. Where is my son? The disciple's gall had shattered long ago. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. From nearby, a trembling voice answered. Elder Wang. Junior brother Wang is in the pit. Wang Ben flickered into view at the pit's edge. The sludge-like remains slammed into his sight, and a wrenching howl ripped out of him. Then he screamed again, his voice splintering into a ragged shriek. My son. The pressure of a peak void. Sovereign erupted. The air didn't just go heavy, it condensed, turned into a solid, lead, gray slab of mercury. Flagpoles lining Long Street snapped clean at the middle. Onlookers with weaker cultivation crumpled, sternums creaking under the weight. The road bricks pressed down inch by inch, cracking like a string of firecrackers. Lin Fan's face went white. Ye Qingcheng's did too. The pressure hit their shoulders like a mountain collapsing. Chen Shwen merely lifted his eyes. An invisible shield wrapped around the two disciples, and the crushing force dissolved. Lin Fan, your life. Wang Ben shot forward, 5 fingers shredding the air as he lunged straight for Lin Fan's face, killing intent bleeding from every pore. Chen Shwen's expression stayed blank, his lips parted. Sovereign utterance, ant and mayfly.
2 syllables, that was all.
The air above Long Street warped violently as the sound waves materialized, blooming into colossal golden characters in the void. One reed ant, the other mayfly, blinding lop. T-turns pulsed through every stroke. The light, veins contracted inward, then detonated outward like a primordial bell. The shockwave surged into Wang Ben's body. His charging form froze in midair, fine light, races ignited beneath his skin, his entire being lit from within. A heartbeat later, the light shattered. Wang Ben's body disintegrated, exploding from the inside out into a scorching mist of blood. Fragments of flesh and bone shards pattered onto the street. The air thickened with iron and something cloyingly sweet. No one moved, no one breathed. Ye Qingcheng's eyes stayed wide, her heart slamming against her ribs. Lin Fan pulled in a deep breath and stared, reverence written plain across his face. They cupped their fists as one. Master's dominance is unparalleled. Pio Mio Sect's might is supreme. Chen Shwen scoffed and flicked his sleeve. Enough, we leave. An invisible force lifted the 3 of them, their forms condensed into a streak of rainbow brilliance that shot skyward. Behind them, the ground boiled with violent spatial ripples, surging outward like crushing waves and rattling tiles from the eaves. Wang stood frozen long after the rainbow light vanished, a hoarse curse scraped from between his teeth. They can't escape. The Sect Master is at the mountain gate. He tore out a communication talisman and yanked a hastily sketched portrait talisman from his sleeve. Pouring power into both, he shrieked his report. Sect Master, Shenzhen City is in chaos. Elder Wang Ben was detonated by a single word from Lin Fan's master, requesting backup, requesting backup. The talismans flared into blinding white lances. With a sharp hiss, they ripped through the sky and streaked toward the Shenzhen Sect mountain gate. Yu Shan caught the speeding talisman as it coalesced into a portrait. He stared at it, his face darkening to cold iron. Those abyssal, glacial eyes in the painting, they were the exact same ones that had stared back at him from the void mirror. That one glance had nearly crushed his heart into paste. Yu Shan's gaze swept across the assembled elders. His voice rang like tempered steel. Inner disciple Wang Qiang, inner elder Wang Ben, both bullied the weak and brutalized fellow disciple Lin Fan. Their deaths were well deserved. This time, they brought a calamitous foe upon the sect, killed as a direct result. It is their own doing. This matter ends here. No one investigates further. Furthermore, clear Lin Fan's name within the sect immediately. Wash away every stain of injustice. The words fell like an executioner's blade, final, absolute. The elders exchanged pale looks. No one dared speak a word. Yu Shan flung his sleeve back, shot into the air as a streak of light, and bolted straight for the Sect Master's grand hall. He did not look back. Twice now he'd stared into that blink of death itself. One more time, and this bag of old bones would shatter into dust. The clamor of Shenzhen City faded into the distance. Outside Pio Miao Sect, Lin Fan turned to Ye Qingcheng, a wide grin splitting his face. Junior sister, we're entering the sect. Get ready. Ye Qingcheng stared blankly, entering a sect-required preparation. She lifted her gaze. Through swirling veils of cloud and mist, an ancient, weathered mountain gate loomed ahead. Chen Shwen strode forward, hands clasped behind his back, his figure melting into the haze. Ye Qingcheng drew a deep breath and took a step. The sect's barrier rippled like disturbed water, then it hit her, a cataclysmic tide of spiritual energy. Not a gentle breeze. A viscous, liquefied spiritual riptide that hammered through every pore. Her reincarnation, immortal body's meridians jolted awake. Spiritual power surged like a burst dam, unleashing a silent roar through her limbs and bones. She shuddered, pupils contracting tight. This wasn't just dense spiritual energy. This was a sea of condensed spirit, forced directly into her breath and bloodstream. Ye Qingcheng spread her arms without thinking, her fingertips trembling. Even when she'd stepped into the Quays, a emperor realm in her past life, no sacred immortal ground had ever pressed down on her with such brutal spiritual pressure. Such fragile world barriers, she murmured. Her divine sense brushed the spatial barrier, thin as a cicada's wing. A single finger could puncture it. Cultivating here, progressing 1,000 lie a day, wasn't empty talk. Leng Shi, in that past life, had she truly trained in a place like this? Turbulent waves churned in her chest. Her eyes reflected the roiling spiritual mist, and for a long moment she couldn't steady herself. Lin Fan leaned in, chuckling low. Junior sister entering Pyomio sect is a blessing beyond measure. From now on, we train hard, no slacking off. She nodded fiercely, but her gaze strayed unbidden to Chen Shwen's back. The master's figure stood straight as a sword, robes motionless in the spiritual wind. He never once glanced back to explain. She bit her lip, a cat's claw of curiosity scratched at her insides. Lin Fan caught the look. He cleared his throat, assumed the grand air of a senior brother, and relayed the master's earlier words. Pyomio sect is a reclusive sect of unfathomable depth. Every last disciple has already been promoted to the elder level. This mount, in opening recruitment, makes you the sect master's direct second disciple. With that title, you can walk however you please out there, even lying down. No one would dare block your path. Ye Qing, Cheng's breath caught. Every disciple an elder, the weight of that foundation sent a shudder through her. She clenched her sleeves, eyes blazing. At the forefront, Chen Shwen still did not turn. His mind resounded with the system's clarion notifications. Luxurious, disciple recruitment gift pack activated. Sovereign summon card ×2, Sage summon card ×2, Samsara celestial scripture, enlightenment tea, 10 tons. Sect facility, ultimate illusion pagoda, manifested. He spread his palm. A strand of ethereal Tao rhythm shimmered at the edge of a single tea leaf, faint as a firefly, yet carrying the weight of an entire world's foundational laws. It rested in his palm for a heartbeat, then withdrew into the system's space. Chen Shwen clicked his tongue. 4 Emperor cards saved, 4 Sage cards stockpiled not far from the immortal tier. As for 10 tons of enlightenment tea, his eyelid twitched. He'd be drinking for eons. A deep, muffled tremor resonated from the earth. Not a thunderous roar, a low and profound hum, as if something colossal were stirring from the planet's core, crushing rock and the wrinkled fabric of space-time as it slowly rose. Lin Fan and Ye Qing whipped their heads around. On the sect's open grounds, a colossal pagoda was materializing from illusion into solid form, thrusting skyward. With every inch its foundation climbed, ripples shimmered across the visible surface of space, twisting faintly as though pulled by unseen forces. The pagoda's shaft pierced the air with a shriek. From the highest heavens, spiritual energy surged in a mad cascade, coalescing into a vortex spanning the firmament and pouring directly into the tower's peak. Its doors remained sealed, yet an ancient and distant hum echoed forth ageless, boundless. Ye Qing held her breath. Lin Fan's jaw hung slack. Chen Shwen slowly lifted his gaze, settling it on the great pagoda bridging heaven and earth. He raised a finger and pointed at the distant tower. There is no cause for alarm. His voice was utterly indifferent, yet each word struck like a bell. This is the ultimate illusion pagoda. When a cultivator enters, their spirit is drawn of its own accord into the secret realms and deadly perils conjured by the illusory pagoda, while their physical body suffers not the slightest harm. Disciples of this seat may enter without restriction. When time allows, go and test it. The instant his finger descended, the pagoda's doors shuddered faintly. That ancient hum reverberated anew through every inch of air within the sect. Ye Qing's heart hammered, her gaze locked onto the immense tower. Spirit enters the perilous realm, body remains unscathed. A cultivation ground where the will could sharpen itself without tasting death. Lin Fan's breath caught, freezing his lungs. His eyes bulged. This is no mere cultivation tower. It's a heaven, defying treasure. Trade your life for battle experience, and never truly die.